I'm Richard Wolman, psychologist, dating coach.
Hi, I'm Peggy Wolman, and we are matchmakers and dating coaches with Peggy Wolman Matchmaking.
We are delighted to be here today with Helen Fisher, world famous, brilliant biological anthropologist, whom we hope will be able to help us help our clients stay optimistic and forward-looking in their search for love. Helen is a social scientist. Social scientists like to categorize people and figure out who is in what group and who isn't in what group. My area is personality and spirituality. Yours is brain function and brain expression and so forth. So we're delighted to.
And I'm delighted to be with you too.
Well, it's great. Yeah.
Always fun.
It's really great. I'm going to start off real quick here. Peggy's a matchmaker. I'm a dating coach. I work with her. She into the work initially to kind of help her screen newcomers out. I got hooked, and so now I'm doing a lot of dating coaching and so forth. Our demographic are older adults. That means over 50. Our issue, our problem, is really our client's problem, which is how do I maintain my level of optimism? How do I maintain my level of hopefulness? How do I maintain my initiative? Because I've just come out of a marriage, or I've lost someone that I loved, women in particularly. I don't know what to do. I've been online, I write people, they don't write me back. I'm getting discouraged, I'm getting frustrated. And Peggy and I were talking about this, and we know that one of the main really strains of your philosophy, outlook, personality is optimism.
Yeah.
So we would love it if you would share some of your perspectives on how to help us help them.
Well, first of all, I mean, I think that maybe people should know that, I've said to you before that I think we've evolved these three distinctly different brain systems for mating and reproduction: sex drive, feelings of intense romantic love, and feelings of deep attachment. Those brain systems are alive. They're like a sleeping cat. They can be awakened at any age. You can fall in love when you're 2.5, and you can fall in love when you're 92.5. The brain is ready to fall in love. And so what you've got to do is you've got to get out there. I mean, there's no real secret here. You've got to make yourself available. There's plenty of men who are over 50 who are looking for love. As you both know, I think men are more romantic than women are.
Because?
Well, I mean, all of my data, and we've got data now on 30,000 Americans, and when we ask questions about romantic love, I find that men fall in love faster than women do. They fall in love more often than women do. When they meet somebody that they do love, they want to introduce them to friends and family sooner. They want to move in sooner. And men tend to have more intimate conversations with their wives or girlfriends than women do with their husbands or boyfriends, because women have their intimate conversations with their girlfriends.
Well, they fall in love faster, but my sense is, from people we've talked to, is they also fall out of love faster.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know any proof on that. When a relationship is over, men are 2.5 times more likely to kill themselves than women. Women go into clinical depression, but men actually kill themselves. So I think
they never kill each other. They don't.
Well, I suppose there's time for that. But
Right.
The bottom line is, it doesn't matter whether you're over 50. I did one study of Americans and Japanese, and I found that people over 45 express just the same feelings of romantic love and attachment as those who are under 25. Yeah, so the brain does not change. You can be scared when you're 10 years old. You can be scared when you're 50 years old. In the same way, you can be in love when you're 10 years old, and you can be in love when you're 50 years old. But you can't do it at home in your sweatpants. At least you can. I mean, you can now go on the internet. And we're finding, I work with Match.com, but any one of these services, we're finding that more people are of every age are meeting somebody and forming relationships with somebody they met online than through a friend. Apparently 31% of new relationships start with somebody that they met online, and only 25% met through a friend. And that's one difference. I mean, young people, they're in college, they're in the bars. I'm too old to stand in a bar. And the right guy's not going to.
And they meet online. They don't date online. They meet online.
That's perfectly said. Right. That's the big misunderstanding about these dating sites. They're not dating sites. They're introducing sites. The only real algorithm is your own brain. We can give you somebody of the basically right size, shape, background, interest. But you can walk into a room and everybody's from that background and interest and all. You don't fall in love with all of them.
I saw a study that actually showed that if you compare what people say they want in a relationship with who they actually end up with, 180 degrees apart.
You know, actually at Match, and that's the only reason I bring them up because that's the one that I happen to know, but what they have done is they now begin to match you not only with what you say you want, but they watch what you choose and also give you more of what you chose. So it's amazing how, now you guys are in this business, but you know, I do a lot of talking to couples therapists, and I don't think any of us really know all the subtleties of what we're really looking for. You got to get out there. And you know what's interesting to me is there's a whole focus on the first date. It's a look-see, the first date. You got to get to the second date.
Exactly.
That's when you begin to get to know somebody,
And
you know?
distinctions between what you want and what you need. Making decisions based on what you think you want, when in fact, when you look at the people who make you happy, who are the people that you enjoy being with, and why do they make you happy? And those are the people that you want to be with, people that elevate you, not your lists of what. And in particular, I think older clients do come with lists, and they come with lists based on their histories, the experiences that they've had that have been jarring, tragic. They're either widows, they're divorced, contentious divorces. So when they come to us, they say, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. But when you start to think about, well, what do you need and who are these people? And they'll say, I don't want to go out with someone who's bald.
And then they find out that the person has a hilarious sense of humor.
Humor
They're
is
so
wonderful.
kind. They
They say,
love
"Oh
to
my
play
gosh."
golf or whatever the way
And
you
I can't
do.
believe I said that. And I can't believe I was so narrow-minded as to say that here are the things I don't want or want in a relationship. So I think wants and needs are really an important distinction.
Oh, Peggy,
If somebody's been in a relationship, 25 years of marriage, get a divorce, 25 years of marriage, somebody dies, sadly, and all of a sudden they are ready, quote unquote, to go back out there. And the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty. And so many people, they'll jump online and then get frustrated, it won't work, and don't want that. Or they get hurt because you can't trust anybody online.
Which is completely not true.
Right.
I mean, somehow people think that walking into a bar is running into somebody you're going to trust. Exactly. And, you know, but one thing that you were talking about this, you know, the brain is built for what we call negativity bias. And so people are going to remember everything that's not good and not focus on, you know, what really is working. And one of the problems that these people have when they go into their first date, right, is you know so little about this person that you overweight those few things that you do know about them. And suddenly I've seen people say, well, he picked up his fork wrong. I could never have that happen around my children. You know, I mean, all the data show that the more you get to know somebody, the more you like them and the more you think that they are like you. You gotta give people a chance.
And doing things instead of, I think also those first dates that are just about dinner, where it's so awkward. There's, somehow or other we have these preconceived ideas about what a first date and dinner should be like. And in fact, if you can get out and do something, take a walk, go to the museum, be in a different situation than something as forced as dinner, where in between every moment all you're really doing is thinking about the next moment. And helping people to stay in the moment. Oh, well, now what should I ask him next? Or I don't think I really liked the way I answered that question.
Yeah, but look how primed you are on a first date.
Yeah.
Primed, anxious, and when you're on high alert like that, then every little detail, like how somebody holds his fork or her fork, gets magnified. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we struggle with is how to help people calm themselves and not be so anxious, and just the way that you're talking about. Go out there, have an experience, as Peggy has told many of our clients. You're going out to have a good time. Yeah. Who knows where it's going to go?
You know, I do this national study called Singles in America, and we don't poll the Match.com population. We poll the American population. So it's a representative sample based on the U.S. Census. And this past year, I asked the question for the first time, do you expect chemistry, romantic love on the first date? Over 50% of people said no. And then I asked, how about on the second date? And I don't know what percentage, but it was quite a 40% or something said no. So, we've been lied to by our love songs. The bottom line is, it doesn't have to happen immediately. It can happen, as I said, it's like a sleeping cat. It can slow love.
I mean, some enchanted evening is a lie?
Well, for some of us, yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
More of the truth is the song you have to pick yourself up, take a deep breath, dust yourself off, and start all over again.
And,
That's right.
you know, and then I do think that if you're over 50, but really any age, we have cognitive overload. You know, we seem to think, oh, well, there'll be one be a little bit better. It'll pick up their fork that way and also be dressed nicely and be amusing, etc. And so I always say after, I don't know, meeting 9 people who are within the realm of possibility, pick one and get to know that person better, because you will begin to discover their sense of humor. Sense of humor doesn't always come out immediately. Interests don't come out
anxiety.
immediately.
That's right.
And so you've got to get
An interesting piece with us before about complimenting each other, or remembering a part of an experience that was a favorite part of an experience. And a great first date, going to a museum, picking out a favorite painting, and then sitting down together and talking about why.
Exactly.
What is it about that painting that you like? And you mentioned, you know, after being with somebody, sharing with each other, well, what was your favorite part of our experience together? Building a relationship rather than just building on experiences. And I think one of the things that we love about you and about your work is that you've experienced this not only through your research professionally, but personally. So here you are, this beautiful, vibrant, optimistic, hopeful older adult, exactly the clients that we work with all the time. And we hope that they will draw from your optimism through your books and through your personal stories.
I am an optimist.
And
And by the way, you know, the data now show that older men are not looking for young women. They are looking for women who are vibrant, who are optimistic, who are energetic, who are interesting, who are funny. And even looks begins to fall away.
That's what they need in their lives.
You know, and they don't want a 25-year-old who wants
think
to
they
have
do.
children and start a whole second family. They'd like a woman who's around their age, but who has the energy and vitality. So the men are out there.
One of the things you mentioned in the book that I was curious about is the kind of developmental dynamic of the way the various systems shift. So, for example, as women get older, estrogen levels die down, testosterone may pick up. Is there something about the way in which that happens that would make sense for our population?
Yes, I don't think the sex drive has to die at all. I mean, the estrogen levels go down about 20 times, but the testosterone only goes down about 3 times. And so you'll see in older women, they'll put more weight around their waist and maybe a little more hair on their face and they become more assertive. I've loved that, frankly.
I'm not sure the guys do, that's the thing.
I don't know. I think men become much more compassionate. And I think it's...
And more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think for both men and women, being older adults, being able to understand and to be able to share their vulnerability with each other is really, I think, the beginnings of when they start to have a relationship with each
And
other.
you know, this whole thing about commitment, and everybody's so scared of commitment and all this kind of stuff. She's going to move in with her U-Haul if I just tell her I love her and all that stuff. You know, and I always say I'm single, and I go out with people, and I'm just starting this perhaps thing with somebody, and I say one day at a time. You don't know the future. Let's have a good time tonight. And then just what you said about, and that takes the pressure off of all of this. You know, it doesn't have to be this monumental
It's not about the
decision.
outcome. It's about the process.
Exactly.
You're just thinking about what it is that you're enjoying, how you're enjoying it, what you're sharing together, and also being able to verbalize that. It's not just the thinking. I think we all have voices in our heads all the time, and they're telling us what's working and what's not working. And I think as you can bring those voices to the forefront and share them and say, you know what I really enjoyed about being with you tonight? Or sometimes if something doesn't go well, we've often said to someone, maybe you could the next time you're together, because you're obviously going out together again, maybe you could say that, last time you mentioned something and, it just didn't quite sit right. It didn't resonate. And I wanted to mention it again, and just to share with you that that's how I felt. And you don't have to ask a question. It doesn't have to be a judgment. It doesn't have to be an attack, but you're sharing something. And how surprised we find people are to find out that what they thought was some offensive comment or out of just didn't fit into the evening at all was just a comment. It didn't have any great meaning and wasn't going to affect the future.
And you might sandwich it between what you really liked about the date.
Yeah, exactly.
So that
Compliments.
And I want to go back to one. That's very important. I want to go back to one thing about going to a museum or doing something together as opposed to this face-on-face and stuff.
Moving.
Yeah, and that's going to be much more comfortable for men because men get intimacy from doing something together, whereas women are much more comfortable with the face-to-face talk. But that can be very much of a burden for men. But one of the things I want to suggest is you don't have to have dinner, but you should share some kind of food. And even if you're on the way to the museum, stop and share a hot dog in the park, or share a cookie, or have a drink.
Well, there was research about being in motion actually helps to build relationships. Do one stop somewhere else.
Even after dinner, go for a drink to another place.
Absolutely. Novelty.
Stay grounded.
It drives up the dopamine system in the brain and can make you feel more, excited about the relationship, more receptive to it.
And I think one of the other things that people learn as they get into relationship, especially as men are getting more compassionate, as you say, which I think is probably true, is that they learn how to negotiate with each other. If you stop at a hot dog stand, what would you like? What would you like?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
If
Remember
we're
that?
splitting it, who wants?
What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? Kind of thing. And learning how to state what your needs are, but also being mindful that the other person has needs, and that the key to building a relationship, at least in my experience and in our experience, is knowing how to negotiate even small gestures, small moments, because let's face it, every relationship is an ambivalent relationship. Every one. Sigmund Freud said it. I didn't invent that, but I believe it's true. Yeah. And every relationship has pluses, it has minuses, it has positives, it has negatives. And when people get a divorce, it's because they couldn't handle the ambivalence, they couldn't tolerate the anger, the hatred, and so forth. But in good relationships and in building a new relationship, it's critical that people understand that this is not going to be an all or nothing deal. I'm going to have to get in there and negotiate, like Peggy said, for what I want, for what I like, for what I didn't like, and that's okay.
I loved the phrase in your book about slow love, because I think it's so important for older adults to not think that this is something that's going to happen the same way it happened when they were in their 20s, that it's going to take some time. But in understanding that they also have to maintain a certain kind of optimism, which is a very delicate balance, because you only have the experience that you have. And the experience that you had when you were younger was, oh my gosh, right away you knew, and that was it. You fell in love, and whether it worked or it didn't, that process is the only experience that's in your mind. So where we draw from that optimism for older adults to help them to be hopeful, not to give up that hope. And I think that you are such an inspiration for them personally and professionally.
Thank you. All I can say is he is out there. She is out there, but you got to put yourself out there so he can find you.
Beautiful.